Welcome to the Creatures of the Night. I'm Chris.
And I'm Wendy.
Thank you so much for joining us. This is my new voice.
We should teach them yoga. And
yes,
everyone, are you ready to meditate?
Yes. So count back slowly from 5, 4.
That's hypnosis, not meditation.
Hypnosis. You will like and subscribe to our podcast.
Can you put a minute video on Instagram of that, please?
Watch the clock. Tick-tock, tick-tock.
So I wanted to tell you this last night. I was watching Ghost Adventures, and it's from a few weeks ago or whatever. I hadn't seen it, and so I was watching it. And it doesn't even matter where they were at or what they were doing. I don't even know if I watch the show for that kind of stuff anymore because, well, no, they must have been somewhere in California. I don't know. He doesn't leave like a 3-mile radius from his house apparently anymore. And hey, man, I'm not judging. I spend the entire weekend at my house and in my neighborhood. It's got everything that I need. Yeah. So I get it. Yeah. I'm not saying that, but
do you think maybe he just doesn't trust anyone to sit his dog? So he's just like, look, I can't be away from her because that dog is beautiful. I wouldn't want to leave her with anybody either.
Listen, I'm just never going to complain about the whole Ghost Adventures crew because they entertain the fuck out of me. I mean, like there's funny points on the show. They, lately, I'll be honest, I haven't seen like mind-blowing evidence. Every once in a while, I'm like, whoa, wait, that was good. But yeah, but that doesn't matter because they're still entertaining, but also just their Instagram story posts and stuff like that keep me so entertained. The one I sent you the other day of Zach dancing.
Oh, that was so cute. I had to watch it again. I'm like, someone's going to come in this door right behind me and see that I'm watching Zach Bagans dance. And I'm going to have to explain this.
Talking about his dog, he posts a lot of Instagram stories of him talking to his dog. And I love it. I talk to my dogs all the time. Yeah. Like I imagine they get it, but I mean, we talk and discuss things all the time. So him like sharing pop culture news with his dog or the way he just talks to her about coming, trying to get her to come into the house. Oh my God. I love all of it. So I don't even care what they're doing in the paranormal community anymore. Yeah. They're just kind of entertaining me with their silliness and it's really cute, but I still watch the episodes and so I don't remember where it was, but it's some house in California and it's used for like film and TV. Like they legitimately just own it to rent it out to movie and TV people to use it as a set.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. So they go to investigate because it's got some activity going on and everything, and everything's getting kind of, crazy. They're getting responses on their spirit box and they're getting like EVPs and I think hits on their EMF, which, well, I'll get to this in a second, actually. Let me tell you real quick. Zach has to step out and he's like hanging out by himself and he's like, I just want you to let everybody know I'm perfectly fine. There's just the energy inside when you're really sensitive, even if it's good energy, like everybody's just really excited, it's just too much because I'm so hypersensitive that the energy just kind of, I can't handle it and I have to come outside. And I'm like, wait a minute, is he just explaining how people are just annoying him? So he can because I get it, man. When I'm PMSing, I don't care. You're too happy. You're too mad. I can't handle either one of you. But I was like, I think he's just explaining how these people's excitement, it's bothering him.
This is too much for me right now, guys. I gotta go outside.
But he's making it into a thing like he's special. When really, like, lots of people go through that. I go through it quite often.
Can we put the focus back on me, please? I'm here.
It's because I'm sensitive that I can't handle too much of anything, and I must be sensitive too. He's not been meaning to be funny, and I'm just like seeing the comedy gold in it.
Yeah.
But what I was about to say a second ago about when I said they used EMF, they are heavily using that trifield meter these days.
Really?
The oldie but a goodie. Yeah, they're using a trifield meter. He was using a Polaroid camera.
Wow.
I mean, I'm like, are we just like, we're done with new technology. We're reverting back to old school methods, which I dig. We tried when we were at the Myrtles.
Yeah, we did.
To use a 35 millimeter camera and take those pictures. I still have my tri-field meter and we bring it with us and I love it. And then of course we're heavy on like just the personal experiences that we feel and see with our own eyeballs.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Yeah, so I'll be coming out your neck of the woods before too long, and I know we might get out and kind of explore a little bit, and investigate. And every time that it rolls around that time of year for us to go out and investigate, I'm like, what new piece of equipment can I add? But I'm seeing that like,
they're reverting.
Ghost Adventures is going backwards. So I'm like, what do? I have a tri-field meter, but we tried the 35 millimeter. It didn't go out that well, honestly. And I saw Portals to Hell people doing that too. Katrina and Jack Osborne, they were using a Polaroid camera. But who's going to believe you? Because you shake that shit the wrong way and it's not going to expose correctly.
Man.
And I totally get it using these things, even the 35 millimeter, millimeter, a Polaroid, whatever. I'm not against us using this. I'm just saying the stuff that they're showing me so far that they're finding in this, it's an orb. And I'm doing air quotes. But that's what I was saying last night. That shit's only going to work as evidence if you give me a full fucking image behind it. Or something is very obviously a shape. Like this wasn't a 35 millimeter, or was it? No, it was a digital. Our Samurai Ghost, I had to think.
Yes.
That was
our Samurai,
it
was digital
camera, but you saw head and shoulders.
Yes.
What Ghost Adventures had the other night was a blob. And what Katrina Weidman and Jack Osborne had was in two separate photos, they had a blue light. I know a couple of podcasts.
Whoa.
We talked about your location had a blue light, and then there's a location I had done a while ago that was a blue light. But they had a blue light, and they took the photo several times. So it seemed a little legit because, like, why did this blue light keep popping up? Now, Ghost Adventures, I don't know what the fuck. They threw they even show that they accidentally dropped this picture on the ground. So in the process of dropping it, it probably got fucked up,
Maybe. Oh no.
So I was a little like, stop it, guys. You guys are you're reaching here. If you must have not have got some really good stuff. Though they did, like I said, they got EVPs and they got EMF hits that were super strange. Yeah. But anyways, I think we got to get a Polaroid camera. We definitely should be using our tri-field meter over all those mel meters and whatnot. What else can we do?
Well, back to the Salvation Army for me, because I used to see Polaroid cameras there all the time.
You got to get on it. I wonder if my dad's using his Polaroid camera.
Oh.
They don't throw anything away. They are like going to the Salvation Army. I'll be there soon. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
But, I'm sorry. I'm getting off topic and not getting to a point, but I'm just saying I'm like, what can I buy? Even though I know I don't need another piece of equipment and all the like ovuluses and those new kinds of spirit boxes that are really echoey and stuff. They got me just watering at the mouth because I'm like, I want to hear a ghost talk directly to me. But then I get so concerned about how it'll be misconstrued as, oh, that's bullshit. It's fed with a database or something like that,
That's why we just need to do more like burst sessions. Yeah. That's how we can get that communication and we can actually, really speak to them, I think, without having to spend $400 on the echoey random person made in the basement of whatever mom's house that they're still living in. And they're cool. I see that stuff on Instagram all the time. And now they add lights to this shit. I mean, before too long, it's going to be souped up like those fucking pimped out computers that the gamers use where they have the spinning lights. It's insanity at this point.
It's so shiny and everything that's going on. I love, and it's that instant gratification of communication.
100%.
Kind of like when you send a text and you're like, it's been 5 minutes. Why haven't they responded?
Are they dead?
Because they are dead. But talking with the dead might take time.
Yes.
And then just the fact that these things are using radio waves and that echo box. I'm just going to call it an echo box. I know that's not what it's called.
But that's what it is. Echo. Yeah, it's weird.
sometimes I can't even make out what it's actually saying. They're like, it just said Satan, didn't it? And I'm like, what did you hear? Wah, 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 wah. But, and then you're like, Satan. It said Satan.
Just listening to that thing, it doesn't seem like it would put off a natural vibe in the house anyways. When you're trying to actually communicate with a spirit, and then you've got these weird rhythmic noises, and they sound like people's spooky voices, and it's echoey and weird, and then you're trying to actually make sense of what this shit is. I don't know. It's a cool toy. Don't get me wrong. I want it. I want them all. I'm like the Pokemon collector over here, but I don't know if it actually does anything.
I know. I mean, if it gives you relevant responses, then you'll be like, okay, I can stand behind it. I asked, what's your name? And it came up with Alfred. And guess what? Wow. Alfred died here. And Alfred's not a super common name or something like that. That would be great. And it does that sometimes on these shows. And you're like, okay, maybe this thing does work. But then also sometimes you're like, what? Why did they just say that it said this? I did not hear that. And the spirit boxes are the same way. Yes. Like you hear and then it does scan through radio stations. So I don't know. I guess like you said, we just, the recorders, and it's just us. And I know there's still the controversy on the recorders too, but if it's relevant, at least it's not contaminated with possible radio stuff, right? Wait, that one of the arguments?
It is one of the arguments, yes.
But you can't get away from it. What do you want from me? I'm going to bring a typewriter along and then just bring Polaroids.
There you go.
We won't shake them.
Nope, no shaking.
Done. I'm going to bring a speak and spell.
Oh, now we're talking. I'll get an Etch-a-Sketch. Spirit, can you draw me your name?
This has just become our new technique.
Hey, no lie, but the DigiBlue was my favorite piece of equipment forever. It got some really amazing stuff, and it was a toy. It was a toy. It was an awesome infrared camera. It was before like Spy Gear came out. They had like Discovery toys, and this was along those same lines. It's called DigiBlue. You did have to get an external light because it was a kid's toy.
I have an external light with what at the time I bought it was an expensive ass Sony night vision camera,
Sure, yeah. But I mean, I think back to basics for us works for the budget. And the ghosts don't mind.
I love it. I mean, so that's our plan. All right. Good. New ideas for everyone out there.
Right.
Look for speak and spells. Speak and spells are going to be like $400 because we put it out there for everybody to go buy one.
And that's what happened to the DigiBlue. They skyrocketed in price.
Just stop it, guys. Slowly buy them at least so that they don't catch on and jack up the price.
Speak and spell.
You're only allowed to buy one a week.
Is that your Ovilus? Yes, it is.
Why not?
It's just really like modern. That's why it's so big.
Look, that boombox that Nick Groff was carrying around. I mean, and now Katrina Weidman's got it down to like a Bluetooth speaker basically size.
Yeah, it's just super portable. Yeah, he had to do all the heavy lifting back in the day when they were first rolling out with these things.
You don't see Jack Osbourne doing that shit. So now she's carrying around. He loves the Mel meter, by the way, though. I mean, just in the 2 episodes I've watched, he's all like, look at it. It makes me think of like anybody that's new to paranormal investigating gets so excited when those things are like beeping and going off and stuff.
Yeah, I do. I still get excited when it beeps and goes off.
It is, but I'm saying, then you're looking, okay, if you can do this, can you do that? You
move on.
Like confirmation. And he's just still kind of stuck on, Rob Lowe did a thing with his sons.
Yeah.
About ghosts and other kinds of things. They were looking for like Bigfoot and aliens and stuff like that too. It was really cute. But they were total just like visitors to all of this. And so like when meters went off, they're like, what the fuck? So, it's fun. But all right, you want me to tell you a story?
Yeah. Sure.
I did tell you like 5 of them about other people's shows. That was our paranormal TV review corner.
Lots of commentary. Yes. Nice.
We're done with that part of the podcast now. So let's move on to telling you the story. Part 2. All right. So about a year ago, myself and my family, we went to Yellowstone National Park, which is freaking amazing, by the way. Everyone should make a point in their lifetime to see this place. There's wildlife. We saw bears and elk and lots of buffalo. There's amazing views and these magical geysers. I mean, we had never seen a place like this before. It's beautiful and it's just amazing.
And bears.
And bears. Live bears. I've seen live bears before. I meant wild bears. Wild bears, all wild animals are kind of impressive because there's that little bit of adrenaline of like, they could eat you. We saw a buffalo charging at other people.
Whoa, what?
Yeah, they tell you all these rules. It's posted everywhere about how far you're supposed to stand.
Yeah.
I don't think it fucking matters. If that buffalo's not happy with you looking at it odd, or that bear or that elk, they're going to make a movement to back you the fuck up.
Oh, my God.
I mean, they've dealt with enough visitors to this park that's been around for 100 plus years. So they know how to just trip you up a bit and make you fall over yourself as you run away from this giant beast.
Tell me that those people got out of its way.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Okay.
They were just running like crazy. And we were watching them from a distance and just, while we stood in front of another buffalo, you know, but he wasn't interested in doing anything. If you're into animal watching and then just seeing kind of all these natural wonders, you've gotta go. But the wildlife and those boiling sulfur-filled geysers aren't the only scary thing that you can find there. There's a plethora of haunted locations to visit as well. And one day I'm going to tell you all about them.
It was like, oh my God, she's actually going to tell me about one of these places she went to. No?
Nope, not going to tell you about them today. And that's totally not on purpose. That was my original idea. But as I was researching my favorite haunted spot that we got to visit during that trip, I was totally blindsided by this wild story from Missoula, Montana. And I just had to kind of switch gears and tell you this story instead.
I thought you were going to be like, but I actually am going to tell you about this story in Florida.
That's some shit you would do.
100%.
So listen to this. Built in 1899, the impressive Victorian home at 319 South 5th Street West was first home to William and Sarah Kendall for a short time. They were owners of the Northwest Milling and Lumber Company. So the house, they built it, and it was built with all the best materials. So it was gorgeous. It was sturdy. It was grand. However, then in 1902, they sold the home and they moved, and a widower named Elizabeth Schuch, and that could be completely wrong. I don't know. I'm sorry. She purchased the property because she wanted to move to Missoula to be closer to her son, Frederick. He and his family had moved there, his wife, Jimmy, and their two children, Natalia and Strawn. Frederick was one of the first 3 professors of the University of Montana, which is right down the road from the house.
Huh. He didn't have much of a commute then, did he?
No, I bet he walked there every day. He taught language and mechanical engineering.
Wow.
I read something else that he had taught like several other kind of things too.
Oh.
And just as other professors came on, this was like kind of his end game.
Okay.
This is the last couple of things that he taught.
Nobody could fill these positions, so he's like, fine, let's do it. Whatever.
Right. But he was like doing it all before that. And he was also the university's vice president.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he was a big wig on campus. So he was very well liked, though. And he and his family all moved into the house on 319 South 5th Street with Elizabeth, his mother. And by all accounts, they spent many happy years in the house. After his elderly mother, Elizabeth, passed away, along with his wife, Jimmy, and his son, Strawn.
Oh.
And they all passed away in the house, too. I know I didn't find anything on what happened to him.
Oh, man.
But the 3 of them passed away, and then Frederick decided to sell the home and move. He moved to Michigan, actually, which is funny because I just did a story from Michigan. And I also did just talk about Yellowstone too. So I promise you that wasn't necessarily on my mind. But this all happened in 1936.
Huh.
So from 1937 to 1939, I'm assuming this is right. His name was Valentine. Valentine and Caroline Jackie owned the house before selling it. They're kind of minor players here. They just lived in the house for a couple of years, and then they sold the house to the longest and perhaps most unusual inhabitants, the Decos family.
They sound awesome. When you say most unusual inhabitants, they were people though, right? Because I'm like,
I guess that's a little rude of a comment. They're where the story gets juicy.
Okay.
So that I really should give them a lot of credit and not call them unusual. They had unusual things happen though.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So Jim Decos was a native of Greece. He became a citizen of the United States in 1937. He married Eleanor Barker of Butte, Montana, and they raised 8 children in the home.
Oh my God.
Yeah. The Decoses owned and operated Jim's Cafe, which was right there in Missoula. In May of 1946, Eleanor and her sister Henrietta Lambros, along with one of the Decos children, were in a bedroom on the second floor when they began to hear a low growl.
No.
Mm-hmm. Followed by very high-pitched screams.
Wow.
The noise would stop for a moment and then start again. The tormented sounds continued for years until the family decided to allow a minister to perform an exorcism on the home in 1956. So for 10 years, they dealt with these random-ass loud screams.
I love stories that involve an exorcist. It's just, I mean, my favorite always is as soon as you bring that guy in, I'm like, shit's getting real. This is awesome. That's all I was going to say.
Scream at that point.
Yeah.
Yep. So Reverend Andrew Landon, minister of the Light of the World Tabernacle, performed a ceremony that the family said successfully removed the entity from the home. The screams were never heard again. Eleanor told the local paper in an interview in 1980 that the screams would start off low and then they would get higher and higher until the screams split the walls.
Wow.
That's how she described it. Now, whether there were actual splits in her wall, I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
The screams sounded like a woman, Eleanor noted. I was about to say, how do you know that? But I guess you would know that. I guess you could tell.
It could be a really high-pitched dude.
It could. Could be a kid. I mean,
yeah, it could be a kid.
That's always bad. But I don't know why I just now decided to question that. So Eleanor and Jim, they did try very desperately in those 10 years when they were experiencing all this before they called in the exorcist. They tried very hard to figure out where the source of the noise was coming from. They had contacted the fire department to check out the house. They called the police to see what was, if they had any news that they could give them. They called electricians and plumbers to see if there was something wrong with the house that was putting off this sound.
Yeah.
But nobody could find a reasonable explanation for it.
Did the firefighters, cops, the plumbers, the electricians, did any of those guys hear the screaming?
She didn't say that.
Oh.
And maybe that's why they get labeled unusual inhabitants of the house, because no one else shared their experience other than her sister, who also, has spoken with the media about it back in the day. But between those two families, which is really just one family, that's the only reports of it so far.
Interesting.
Somewhat. Let me get into it a little later. So maybe there's a little to that.
Okay. I was going to say it might have just been attacking them.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe. So after the article was released, people began to call the house of Screams.
Oh, God. That's awful. Honey, I'm tired. Woo, I'm bushed after that meal. Let's go home to the house of Screams.
You call the pizza guy and you tell him they're addressing, oh, the house of Screams? Yeah, sure, that one. Whatever.
Yeah, right. Yeah, do I still get that free crazy bread if you're like 5 minutes late?
Yeah, I was going to say, if you don't bring that crazy bread, we'll stick the Screams on you. I don't know. They don't even know where it's coming from.
That's why they couldn't pinpoint like a room or an area.
That mostly, I think that the idea was it was mostly coming from upstairs.
Yeah,
on the second level, but nobody, looking at the construction of the home could find anything wrong with the home.
Yeah.
But also, I don't believe anybody else experienced it, only them.
Yeah.
However, after the exorcist, they said, we're fine. We're good. Somewhat.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So
they didn't know about that saging every month sort of situation.
Well, this is something a little harsher. Yes, I think maybe sage would have helped. But when the screams started, Mary Decos, one of the Decos 8 children, she was only 5 years old. And it existed for 10 years. So she's 15 when it stopped. And though the exorcist seemed to work, recovering from those years of fearful torment seemed impossible for Mary.
Yeah.
She remained in the house for most of her adult life, mostly becoming a recluse. Mary refused to drive out of fear. She smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day and spent her free time watching horror movies.
I like her. She seems great.
Well, it gets better. Listen to this. This may have been my selling point for changing my story idea. As a way to make extra cash, I would imagine, and also as a creative release, Mary began writing demonic pornographic stories that she sent into confessional magazines for $50 a story.
Wow.
So I just found my new side hustle. Thanks, Mary Decos. Didn't know that was a thing.
I didn't know that was a thing either.
But I'm get on it.
The grin on your face is literally ear to ear.
I mean, I know it's very sick and that this woman was troubled, and I do really feel for her. I really do. But, when I was reading through the story, I was intrigued by what was going on with the family. But the second they said demonic pornographic stories, I was like, the fucking phone.
Wait a second, too. We're talking mid to late 60s here in Montana. So
I think this was more mid 70s, late 70s to 80s.
Okay.
It was in the 1980s article when they interviewed her. And this was her, her thing. This is probably when they discovered that this was her thing.
Okay. I'm just saying, don't quit your day job just yet, Wendy, because
side hustle. It's fine. I get $50 a pop is not going to, pay the bills.
A side hustle. I get you.
Yeah. Just some extra paranormal spending cash.
Sure. For those new weird echo boxes that we.
Oh my gosh. Really just for the Polaroid camera too, but because those are probably going to be hard to come by.
Yeah.
But one such story that Mary wrote was titled Virgin Sacrifice, Satan Was My Sex Teacher. So that ran in Jive magazine out of Fort Worth, Texas. I tried desperately to find these stories as well.
Did you?
But since I do most of my exploring at work,
you can't really type that in the search.
Can't type that into the search.
Yeah, the interweb might come back with
I don't want to type that into the search on my home computer.
I know.
Because it's not safe.
I mean, you're searching for how do I load a gun anyways. I mean, you might as well.
Somebody take my computer away from me. So, in that 1980 interview, Mary claimed to have a presence living with her in the second story bedroom because her bedroom was on the second floor where this all happened, and she claimed it was still there.
Oh God! And she stayed there.
She said that she had seen handwritten names and numbers on the walls, and she feared that it was some type of warning.
Okay.
So meanwhile, the house is falling into just a mess. Nobody's taking care of it. There are feral cats roaming all over the premises. There's piles of trash because the Decoses are refusing trash pickup service.
Oh, no.
The house is unkept and it's just falling into a state of deterioration.
They turned into, what are those people that just collect everything?
Hoarders.
Yeah, they turned into hoarders.
I think it's somewhat, well, yes, it's definitely that. But I feel like, Mary's a recluse. She's not going to go anywhere because she's too scared to leave the house.
Right.
And then her mother's probably aging and elderly. And they don't really mention who else was in the house. Now, they do say that in 1985, sadly, Mary died tragically.
Wow, in 85?
In 85. So just 5 years after that article.
Yeah.
She killed herself with a lethal dose of drugs. And at that time, they say that Mary's mother, Eleanor, was a widow, had been a widower for 2 years. So I guess, in the 1980s, her father was still alive, but I imagine elderly as well. So nobody's keeping up the house. She's the only, able-bodied adult, and she's not able-bodied because she's not well.
So, question, does that mean she OD'd?
Yeah, she overdosed.
I gotcha.
So after she passed away, Eleanor went to go live in a nursing home, and she just up and left. So the house was just left the way it was.
What?
Yeah, like everything in the house, whatever was left there, just bye. But it was shit because the house was a fucking mess.
Yeah, and the evil presence is just like roaming the halls, kicking that shit around. Like, ugh, that's weird.
Probably should have put Miss Eleanor in a nursing home a long time ago, so she'd have to go through that stuff. But then Mary would have had nobody at all. So
that's sad.
Several owners purchased the property, rebuilding this and that and trying to fix it up. One such owner was Tensley Burner. He reported that though he never had any actual evidence of paranormal activity while in the house, he did have an eerie experience one night. He said suddenly he sensed a change in the air. It grew colder around him, and his heart started to race. His hair stood on end. He felt a presence near him. So then he just started yelling out, like challenging it, which is like every nightmare I always have. So that's kind of funny, actually, that I just thought about that. That's kind of how like most of my nightmares go, is you just sense something's there, like in the room next to you, and then I just start yelling at it, like, come at me, bro, or whatever, and nothing ever comes out of it. So this guy was having my living nightmare.
Okay, so two things. The fact that this guy said nothing ever really happened here, but all of a sudden he's ready to fucking go head to head with what? Well, I mean, did he think that it was a living person that was causing the temperature to change around him, and like maybe his spidey sense was picking up on it? That's a really weird thing to say. Like, I just woke up one night, everything got cold, I felt uneasy, and I did the come at me bro thing. What?
So to set the scene, I believe he was working in the house on one of the lower, he was on the first floor. Oh. So this wasn't coming out of his sleep or anything. He was in the middle of working on something downstairs on the first floor. But he also had noted that he's from the area. He knows the house. He knows the stories. He knows of it being the House of Screams and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
House of Screams.
He bought it, admiring it, and probably was like, maybe possibly waiting for something to always happen.
Yeah.
And though he never really got like exactly what he was looking for, he did have this one experience, and he also didn't keep the house after that either. So
interesting. Okay, so for my second point, you've had dreams like that regularly?
I do. And I remember telling someone I have weird dreams all the time that are kind of dark and like I've had dreams where I've been shot and stuff like that. And I wouldn't call those nightmares because I'm not scared, because I'm 100% aware that they're dreams. But those kind of dreams where I'm like in a place and I think something is like watching me, or there's just a bad energy and that kind of thing happens where I'm like yelling at it. Mm-hmm. Those are the nightmares I don't like, because they feel, I guess because it's the unknown.
Yeah.
Shows you what a control freak I am.
Or that you're always in fear that they're like, it's an intruder kind of a situation.
I guess. I don't know. But like the way he sets this whole scene, with the exception of how it ended up, which I'll tell you in a second, that is a lot like how my stuff goes.
Oh.
My dreams go, I mean. So he starts yelling at it, challenging it, and in response, he hears an ear-piercing scream answer back. He notes that it's coming from the stairs, so possibly from the second floor and down the stairs. Yeah. So he turns to look. what he finds is just 2 black cats sitting there on the stairs.
Oh, my God.
Just looking at him. Just staring at them as cats do.
Ghost cats.
And I think he said it crossed his mind, could those cats have made that noise? But it didn't seem right. And then the cats just ran off. So that was the end of that.
Wow.
Also, how'd the cats get in there and get out?
Yeah.
There was a lot of construction going on, but, oh yeah, 2 cats sitting next to each other. I mean, I don't have 2 cats, but will they just sit next to each other like that?
Mine do not like each other. And the only time they are next to each other is when food is involved. Otherwise, they ain't hanging out. They're not having kitty cat conversations. But no, mine wouldn't do that sort of thing. If one's on the stairs and the other's on the stairs, it's because one is running from the other.
No, my dogs don't even necessarily lay together like that. Like if one's taking up this sofa, the other's got to go to the other sofa. And if humans have to be there, he paws at us, or she paws at, well, she doesn't really do it. Rose doesn't. She's very polite. She'll go somewhere else. Chances not. He's a butt. He paws at you. He climbs into your lap. He barks at you. He wants that fucking couch. And he wants you to move.
And you need to go. That's where I need to sit.
So they don't even really lay together. So it's really, all of it sounded really odd to me. So he never finished renovating the home. And like I alluded at a second ago, he ended up selling it to the Eseps, who purchased it in 1998. So the Eseps did a major renovation that took years to complete. Today, the house looks warm and inviting with pine wood floors salvaged from an abandoned timber mill, a parquet floor retrieved 1 square at a time from a century-year-old barn, and the turret boasts a winding staircase and a chandelier brought from the historic Anaconda Hotel, because there's an Anaconda, Montana, just so you know.
Oh, okay.
That's the name of the town.
Thank you.
And that's the hotel there. And I was like, hold the phone. So I was like, wait, am I saying this right? Anaconda? Really? I watched a YouTube video on a girl, like, showing her town of Anaconda, Montana, because I wanted to hear her say it and make sure I'm not like missing something and we're saying this word differently.
Right.
She shows the local like high school, and the local high school's name is like another snake name. And I can't remember it now. Because I didn't write this down. I didn't mean to include this, but I thought this was hilarious. So the local high school is named like after a different kind of snake, but they're in Anaconda. And then she said their mascot is a totally different kind of snake as well. So it was like, I don't know, Python, Anaconda, and then their mascot's like a cobra. I mean, it was just like, who's obsessed with snakes around here? What's going on?
Yeah, they are a bit obsessed with them.
But you should totally look up pictures, old pictures of this Anaconda Hotel, because it is gorgeous, Chris. Oh. It is like a castle in the middle of a small town. I am in love with Montana architecture because it's just all like all these brick and stone buildings, and everything looks like a damn castle, and it's gorgeous and it's huge, and it's just like, that's the post office. I mean, like, no big deal.
No big deal.
It's just like, nah, that's the bank. You know,
meanwhile, like, it's huge and
it has turrets.
Right.
I mean, why does everything it's just there, it's really gorgeous. But the Eseps had remodeled the house with all this salvaged materials, and so they were being really green about it, and that's what it took them a long time to do it, but it was also really cool, and they even made paper doing that kind of stuff, salvaging other materials.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Anyways, nowadays, the home of 319 South 5th Street West seems to be at rest, as the family reports no ghostly activity. Mark Eseps suggested that if there are spirits still attached to the home, maybe they live in the spirit house built in the garden, which is which he totally built. And it's like a little house that looks like a birdhouse, but it's on a pedestal. And spirit houses are, I looked this up because they didn't explain it, but I was like, I need more information on this. Spirit houses are little houses that are made. so that if the household spirits would like a new home, then they can choose to live there.
How have I not known about this?
Exactly.
I'm making these now.
Go for it. So it's a Hindu belief, by the way. It's a part of the Brennaman belief. I could be saying that wrong. I'm guessing. But it's a Hindu belief, and spirit houses, bird houses, before your ghost out in the backyard.
Wow.
Deal. Make it however you want to make it. I guess inviting is all.
Sure.
So Aesop says, and I quote, "It's not really haunted anymore. I'm kind of convinced." Notice that kind of convinced.
Whatever. Something might happen, but yeah, whatever.
I don't know. He's a little nervous about it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I'm kind of convinced.
Maybe it has something to do with the fact that in 2010, he called in a paranormal group to explore his house. Or maybe they contacted him, but he allowed it to happen.
Yeah.
So a local paranormal group from Missoula called Torture Souls Investigations explored the house in 2010. Either the family wanted to calm the rumors around town about it being a haunted house or having paranormal experiences there, or they had doubts themselves of whether they were truly alone or not. But during this investigation, the question was asked, "Mary, are you trying to contact us?" They're speaking about Mary Decos, of course.
Yeah.
Then they receive a EVP response in a woman's voice telling them to leave.
Ooh, a tortured. Say that again. She was a tortured voice?
No. Their group is called Tortured Souls Investigation.
I must have totally just blended that right on into what you said.
Yeah, they went really dramatic with that.
It is.
You know, Paranormal Group of Missoula was probably already taken, it's all.
True.
But I watched a lot of the videos from the investigation, and pretty much that was the best piece of evidence. There's only a couple of videos of it. There's not a whole lot of investigating with this location, but other than this one EVP, that's the only activity that they really received. However, 2 months after this investigation, there was a fire in the home. Yeah. So fine. Fires happen. Could be anything. Witnesses say that they heard an explosion that shook the walls of neighboring homes, and first responder crews reported 15-foot flames towering over the roof of the home. Firefighters promptly snuffed it out, though, and they confined the blaze to just one area, and so the damage was really just like on the utmost floor. Which I wonder if this is the second floor, or the reason that they said utmost floor is there's a third floor on this home.
Right, like an attic or something.
Yeah. So I didn't really know what they meant. They didn't go into other greater detail. But all is well. The house has been repaired since then.
Wow.
And the Aesop's family does still live in the home. And again, I'm not calling this paranormal. I'm just sharing it with you because I found it odd that the fire happened shortly after the family allowed a paranormal investigation group to come in and explore the property.
Yeah.
The explosion was easily explained because the family had a canister of propane on the back porch. So once a flame hit that caused an explosion. But the actual start of the fire remains unknown.
Wow.
And so that is weird with the timing of when they allowed somebody to come in.
Yeah.
If all those spirits are out in that spirit house, and then they were like, who's this?
Right.
Who'd you let in here?
Yeah.
And then they go and light that propane canister on fire.
Yeah, or maybe that paranormal group had stirred some shit up. Maybe they were perfectly fine with the way things were and how the E-Steps had fixed up the house and everything was good. And then, the paranormal group came in there and maybe did some provoking.
Just something. Maybe just spending a little too much attention and time on it, or brought up like a sour subject.
Yeah, maybe they did. Maybe they hinted on
something. Some people get set off by very little. Me and Zach Bagan. You can't even be too happy around us. So these kinds of mysterious events are what really intrigued me about this story. Where did those insane screams come from that ultimately caused Mary Decos so much distress?
Right.
Why did the activity happen in those years or appear in those years, but yet not in others? How did it come to this house?
Yeah.
And also, like you said earlier, where do we find these spirit houses?
Yes.
Because do you just build it yourself, or do you have to buy it?
Yeah.
So many questions about this story.
Yeah. Also, I'd like to know if this was Mary's muse for writing those crazy fucking stories.
I can only assume yes.
Yeah?
I mean, I can only assume that you write what you know, right? I mean, that's kind of how I do it. So she had to have some kind of inner thought about it. And that alone is just a little like, where'd these thoughts come from? You know?
Yeah, it's a little strange. With everything that she had going on there, and then these are the things that she'd want to write about too.
Yeah.
It was a weird connection. And
that, I mean, I totally saw it as, yes, something definitely was affecting her and left with her and stayed with her.
Yeah.
And that's what motivated these things. I mean, it's one thing to watch horror films and be into horror films, but
sure. Yeah.
Was she getting her inspiration from them, or was she getting it from a darker source? I mean,
right.
I don't know, but I'm leaning towards the darker source. So
yeah.
So I tried to figure out what was going on. I mean, like, it bothered me so much about what affected this woman and where did it come from, that I tried to explore the rest of Missoula and see what could have she brought home? What else was going on in the town? Is there a portal to hell somewhere that we don't know about? Well, I didn't find that for sure. It's kind of harmless, but I did find some other activity going in town and a connection with the house.
Oh.
So the connection is Frederick Schusch.
Yeah.
One of the earliest owners. He's really just like the second owner. His mother bought it, but he lived there, and he was a professor of the University of Montana, which, remember, is right down the street.
Yeah, right.
And apparently the University of Montana buildings are loaded with ghostly tales.
That's fun.
Yep.
Wow.
Always. I would have gone to college if I knew there were ghosts there.
Man, I'm saying.
So a couple of the most popular stories from the University of Montana are: in the main hall, which is beautiful, by the way, again, a castle in the middle of the campus. The main hall, the custodians that work there late at night, they say after everybody's gone home, they have heard a spirit stomping around the building.
Oh.
They also slam doors. So this is a pissy ass ghost.
He's stuck at school. I
mean, they're mad about something. And they report that they also see a dark-haired woman or lady in the mirrors of the ladies' room.
Oh, always with the women in the ladies' room. It's so wild that that's where they are.
I didn't know this was such an extreme thing happening. I thought there was Bloody Mary, and that was it. I thought that's all I had to worry about.
Right.
But now there's all these kind of different women in the mirrors.
Always.
Stop it. So in Brantley Hall, formerly North Hall, and what used to be ladies' dormitories, another female spirit is seen as well. So I wonder if it's the same lady and she's getting around, but I don't really know.
Huh.
She is believed to be a former student who committed suicide after her father had lost his fortune, or their fortune, in the stock market crash.
Why would she kill herself? Because he made the wrong moves.
I guess she wasn't planning on doing much but being a princess for the rest of her life, and that was the end of it. But yes, I wondered that too.
Huh.
I mean, like, honey, you have your whole life ahead of you.
Yeah.
It did seem like, no offense, like a dumb reason to kill yourself.
It's a bad thing to say, but that's kind of what it seems like.
Oh, maybe. Oh, it didn't really go into depth about it. Maybe it's not as simple as her dad lost his fortune. Maybe her dad lost his fortune and lost, maybe he killed himself. Maybe her mother killed, maybe they were like not in a good place, and it was just the deterioration of her family.
Yeah.
I was just giving her a hard time, and then it could have been, totally something deeper that they just didn't go into.
Sure.
So another report on campus is that in Rankin Hall, named after the first woman elected to Congress and also a UM grad, Janine Rankin, who is supposedly haunting the hall herself. It is believed that the sound of doors closing and footsteps in the hall, that's her MO. So when you hear that, it's Janine. Some also say that if you stop by the painting of her that hangs in the building and say hello, then she'll leave you a gift.
It's not like teeth in a bloody bag.
Yeah, they do not tell you what this gift is. So this is not something I would probably go after but I don't know. It is you saying a ghost is leaving me something. Maybe I would fall for that. There's more to it.
Okay.
The gift, you have to retrieve it from the nearby trash can. So, listen, I didn't go to a big time university, but this sounds like some freshman hazing type shit.
Yeah, it does sound like some bullshit.
Don't fall for this, okay?
It's the pull on the roof old gag, you know?
Oh my God. Don't go digging in the trash. Quit it. So, also in the same building, though, on the second floor, there's a phantom group of students that sometimes are heard in a vacant classroom. It's also said that they've seen objects forcefully thrown in the air, during these ghostly lessons.
Wow.
This is an unruly classroom. They must have had a substitute.
Yeah, like what are they? They're like, everyone's taking a test. They stop. And this shit happens. And they're like, oh my God. And the teacher's like, class now, or I guess I should say professor. Now class, whatever, let's get back to doing our tests. And they're like, well, hold on a second. Did you see that? We can't just go back to, and they're like, no, just take your damn tests. This happens all the time. No.
Yeah, it would be really hard. I'd have to pick my course lessons just to not go into this building technically. I know. Because I could not fucking pay attention to class if you're telling me there's ghosts going on too.
Nope. You'd have your voice recorder out. You'd have your tri-field meter out. You'd have your echo box on the table.
I'd be like, what is this subject even? I'm not listening. I'm waiting for the ghost to type in my speaking spell.
Mechanical engineering, of course.
So my last story from the University of Montana, and also the spookiest tale, comes from the old Fine Arts Theater building, where it's believed that a construction worker supposedly died on the job there. Oh. And now he or she, I'm guessing he though, haunts the building.
Wow. I wonder why. He was just so in love with the place while doing construction that he's like, I'm going to stay here.
Maybe just caught off guard and wasn't prepared.
Yes. Okay. Okay.
Type thing. He didn't have his shit in order.
Yeah.
One of those things. I think there was an accident there and they're just blaming everything on him though.
I like that you said he didn't have his shit in order because like so many people plan on where they're going to go when they're ghosts. You're like, this is the place right here.
Right. Maybe he was questioning all his beliefs in that time. He was just not in a good, solid place.
I understand that. Okay.
So during several performances, horrible, ghostly screams have been heard coming from the back of the theater.
Wow.
Plus, apparently, they've had a lot of mishaps during productions.
Oh, no.
Sets falling down and props breaking.
Ooh, Phantom of the Opera type shit, huh? Yeah. Nice.
The whole production crew, drama crew, could just be cursed. I don't know. But the ghostly screams, that's pretty extreme.
That is extreme. That so correlates with your house. The screaming. It's so weird.
Yeah. And so that's why I know I threw in a bunch of other ghosts there that may have nothing to do with what's going on in the Zacco's home. But, there's definitely some odd things going on at the theater. They blame on this construction worker, but that's just maybe because it's the only accident that ever happened there.
Yeah.
But that doesn't have to mean that that's what it is or where it's coming from.
Sure. It seems like maybe something that did actually happen there happened so long ago that it wasn't recorded or it just got lost in time.
Right.
But I mean, that's a wild story. I mean, that obviously isn't the construction worker. He probably had nothing to do with it. I mean, shit, if his ghost is there, he's probably like, lady, calm down.
Would he be tearing sets down and breaking shit? He's a construction worker. He's a lot more handy than that. I mean, that doesn't seem like something that he'd be into doing. Yeah. And this was his job. Who wants to die and forever be at their job? I mean,
not me.
Not me. Not that job. I've got like 5 jobs, but maybe one of them I'm okay dying with, but not the one I have to go to mostly. So that was my whole point though about telling about the University of Montana is that possibly a spirit followed Professor Shush home one day And in later years, maybe that spirit was unhappy with the change in ownership and then turned into like a very dark presence that affected and clung to Mary Decos. And maybe when the family attempted to exorcise the presence, in fact, it never actually left, and it really just took full hold on poor Mary's soul.
Shit. Is that house still there?
Yes.
We need to get Dead Files on this shit.
They're not having any experiences, and I think for the most part they want to just leave it alone because that's working for them right now.
I mean, I guess I can't say that I blame them too much. It is their home, and I wouldn't really want to hear growling or women screaming so loud that the fucking walls are splitting. So, yeah, no. I would leave it alone too.
Think of all the touch-up paint you would have to do.
Yeah. Fuck. No. Touch-up paint. I mean, you got to fill in them cracks too. That's a lot of extra work on a regular basis. And I mean, shit, sometimes just folding the laundry is just like too much for me. I need to go to bed. Come on, guys. Stop screaming. Fucking busting through the walls.
No, I couldn't handle it. So I think that they're fortunate to have it at peace. I bet they got the house for a deal with the state that it was in, and they're not wanting to push their luck. And you know, and throughout this whole thing, I was really hoping to discover like what was causing all Mary's pain. And you know, unfortunately, I was disappointed in the end. I didn't find out anything. I didn't explain what was going on with her, but I thought it was important to share her story. A lot of people think ghosts and demons don't exist, and that's fine. I 100% support people having their own opinion and passing their own judgment, and I get it, and I'm fine with it.
I laugh because I thought you were going to I'm fine. Fuck you guys. You can believe whatever you want, but it's wrong. I thought that's where you were going to go. That's why I started laughing.
No, it's yes and no. Yes and no. You're allowed to believe what you want, but the fuck you part of it is I would really like you to think, and I mean, be cautious and be courteous to those that do believe, because you don't always know what they're suffering or dealing with, what issues they've gone through and what they've seen and what they themselves can't even explain. Right. So they're having very real issues and fears, and you don't know. So I somewhat get what the family went through, because when I was a kid in my home, I was the only one that saw the spirit that existed there.
Wait, and you didn't start writing pornographic demon novels?
I didn't know that there was a market for it. If I had,
maybe
my 9-year-old self would have been knocking that shit out, and I'd been a millionaire by now. But no. So I apologize. My spirit just bugged me. It didn't inspire me to write pornographic shit. Wow. But I also told my family about it many times, and out of fear somewhat, I got told a lot of times, you just have a wild imagination, and nobody took me seriously. Now, luckily, my experiences, like I just said, they were not as dark as Mary's or the Decos family, and so I got off easy, really. But I know what it's like to be telling people what you've experienced and they don't believe you. So this is just my public service announcement on this episode. Let's just be kind to others, because you don't always know what they are quietly going through. So as much as I want it so bad to know the hows and the whys of this story, sadly, I don't have any answers for you. And now the home is in a state of peace, and the family will not let people in, and I don't blame them for that. And so we'll never know the full story, possibly. Mm-hmm. However, the students of the University of Montana, they could continue to try to communicate with those spirits. And they could ask those spirits about that house down the street at 319 South 5th Street West, just so you get the address right. Everybody, don't harass these people, please. But you never know what the spirits might say if you happen to bring up that house to them, and if they're aware of any goings on there, that that we talked about this before, but that paranormal phone line or whatever, maybe something's going on.
Yeah, call them up and find out what the hell is happening over there.
Please, we need to know where these fucking screams are coming from. It's in the middle of the damn earth. I mean, like, what the fuck? So, but if you're listening to this podcast and you have a story from the Missoula area, please email us so we can share your story on a future podcast. And you can email us at creaturesofthenightparanormal@gmail.com.
Oh, shit. And if you've got something in your house that is possessing you to write freaky novels, yeah, that would be an interesting story as well.
We're not sending you $50, but we will say it on this podcast.
Exactly.
Well, actually, we won't if it's super dirty because, you know, that's a bit too
Well,
much.
that's true. That's true. That's true. But you write us and we will listen.
Blush.
We might. Yeah. I blush.
I will quietly read it and blush. And
Man,
be like, oh my gosh.
That's wild. And yeah, it's one of those things where you think, like you suggested, it might have followed old Mr. Professor Shoosh home and stayed there for many, 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 many years until it finally moved on. Or maybe it's just bunking up in that little spirit house outside of the house. If the spirit house still exists, I would assume that if they put one out there, they didn't like tear it down and like, fuck you, spirit house.
No. I'm certain just the fact that they have one of those, they were, that shows they were 100% aware of the stories that were going on in that house. Yeah. And they came prepared. Honey, I'm going to buy this great deal. We're going to fix it up. Because he's a contractor, by the way.
Okay.
Mark, I read that somewhere. So he knew what he was doing and he saw like the potential for a great home.
Right.
And so I've got this great deal. I'm going to buy this. Mm-hmm. And she's like, fuck no, I'm not going to live in that house. And he goes, no. I found this on the internet. I'm going to build you a birdhouse, a spirit house in the backyard. The ghosts are going to go live in it. Okay, if you say so.
I didn't know it was that easy. All of these shows that we watch, they could just shut that shit down. All they got to do is just show up with the spirit house and be like, this is going to answer all your problems. Just put this outside.
Why is Amy Allen not telling everyone about this or whatever?
Maybe she doesn't know about it, or maybe she don't want that cash cow to stop.
That would make the problem too easy. Oh, we should start selling spirit
house.
Yes. I wonder if you have to be Hindu to.
Well, I'm open to new beliefs. I mean.
Is it the one that you worship a goat?
No, Hindu, I believe it's
that's not me being rude either. I was asking a real
question.
They've
got the 8-armed god. I can't think of you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
And
I know the image. Yes.
They were also, I believe it was a Hindu belief that I had reported on earlier in the episode from India where they had the man-eater, the Zonga demon, right?
Oh yeah, love her.
I'm all about it, man.
Love her, whatever it is.
Let's do some spirit houses. I definitely want to build one and put it outside in my garden because I think that would be a lovely addition to all the other weird shit that I have out there.
I think you should most definitely do this. I have a ton of pallet wood. I'm already got this in my mind, drawing sketches in my mind, but not actually on paper. I'll just start cutting wood and putting it together. That's how I do carpentry.
I've got it wrote down. I'm looking into this as soon as tomorrow starts, not tonight.
It is a cool idea though, and especially for people that are experiencing paranormal events in their home and would like it to stop because it's quite annoying and disturbing, then hey, it's worth a shot. I assume you should look up and Google actual spirit houses in this. I have to go a few pages back. You probably have notes though. What's it called? Branham? I don't know. Belief?
Oh, is that what it was? I thought it was Hindu.
Well, no, it is it's a Hindu belief.
Oh, but it's the branch or whatever. I did not write that down.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really, like I said, I really don't know. But that's how they worded it. Yeah. That it was a part of the Branham, if I'm saying that right, belief, which is Hindu. That's the way they said it. So look it up to make sure that you do it right.
Yeah, definitely.
Because there might be something you need to say, or the way that you need to build the house properly to make it work properly. Don't just put a birdhouse in your backyard and be like, that should get rid of all the ghosts. I mean, you might have to invite the ghosts to come.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like maybe leave breadcrumbs or something for the ghosties
Something.
to, whatever, so they can find it. I mean, it's not like they're just going to leave willingly. Shit, if they've been in your house all this time, they're there for a reason. Right. So you got to entice them. I mean, put some fucking new furniture in there or some, make it nice and cozy and let them know.
Yeah. So, don't be complaining to us on our social media that your spirit house didn't work. Because you put a birdhouse in the backyard. We just told you, make sure you read all the instructions and figure it out.
Right. It's like Beetlejuice, right? With the handbook for the recently deceased. Read up on that shit.
I bet they didn't even read the book.
So, yeah, that's cool. That was a great story, Wendy.
Wasn't it? I mean, I was totally set on, like, doing something else, and I was like, forget that. This is the best. And it's one of those things that, like, it happened to this one family, and they don't have a lot to back up their story, but how can you not believe them with how it affected them? And then the people that have taken the house since then also seem to be very cautious of it.
Yes. They were kind of walking on eggshells there for a little while. Now it seems like they're a little bit more comfortable, but they still know where the fine line is, and they're not about to cross it. They're hip to this whole thing. And you know how you said, so he's a contractor. He knew the story. She's like, not doing it. He's like, no, it's cool. I found this. What if it's more like she's big into it and she knew all about this sort of thing? And she's like, honey, you buy what.
And she convinced him.
Yeah. She's like, if you think that this could be our dream house, then let's go for it. I have all of these beliefs anyways, and I could, make this work out for us.
Very possible. But like if it was our life and we were married to a contractor, that it would be like, I found this old dilapidated house. I bet there's ghosts there. And you wouldn't even tell your significant other about that. You would just be like, look at this. What a great project that would be for you. Honey, I'm willing to live in construction for years. For you to have your dream. Right. And the whole time she's like chasing the ghost around the house and stuff.
That's so cute.
He probably catches her at some point. He's like, what are you doing? And then she has to give him up and build the spirit house.
Right. I could see her like giggling through the halls with her sage and her feather. This is so much fun for me.
Well, he's trying to like hang drywall. I don't know, but I mean, they were up for the challenge, but they don't seem to report any activity, but they also seem to be very cautious of it, almost as if they don't want to admit for sure, as if they don't want to be proven wrong at some later point.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's all very interesting and so very mysterious because you don't know where it comes from. Yeah. So that's why I thought it was just an insane story. Yeah. But
so I think you said this earlier, but I don't really remember because we just did like 4 stories back to back. But if you have your own personal story, then please reach out to us on creaturesofthenightparanormal@gmail.com and give us some of your feedback if you go to that school. And if maybe my story of you taking your test being affected by some shit getting thrown across the room is like more true to life, then please write us and let us know, because that would be crazy.
Yeah, please, please, please. Any stories that are related to these 2 topics. If you know the people that live in that house or you knew the Decos family or something, please give us some more information. That would be so extremely cool. But we take any stories from Montana, from the East Coast to West Coast, all of it. If you've got stories to share with us, then please email us because we'd like to do it on another podcast in the near future. So send us your stories. And then also when we're doing posts about this story as well as any others, please feel free to leave comments. You can go to COTN_paranormal on Instagram, and then you go to Twitter and Facebook as COTN Paranormal.
Right.
And then, as always, you can go to our website, thecreaturesofthenightparanormal.com. There's a bunch of stuff on there. We have blog, old investigations, links to our podcast that takes you to YouTube, and we have products for sale.
And I just want to say, because we've said this before, but if this is the first time you're listening to one of our podcasts, we do record these in advance. So once this finally goes out and we're pushing out the stuff to Instagram, pushing out the stuff to Facebook, when we get back around to saying something about it on the podcast, it's during that same time frame, but you won't hear about it for probably 2 or 4 weeks. So just FYI, we are doing our best to talk to you, but we have regular things going on in our lives. We're mothers. We have full-time jobs too. So we are editing these shows ourselves. We don't have anybody else here helping us except for our families that critique us every now and then. Otherwise, that's it. So just bear with us and know that we will eventually read your stories out here on the podcast for everyone else to hear. Please continue to reach out to us, and we will eventually talk about it on the podcast. You just might have to wait a while.
But I bet you'll hear loads of fun episodes in the meantime. So yeah.
So keep listening, because we're going to keep talking.
They should have talked about my story by now. Nope, I'm sorry. No. We're like months in advance.
This is so true. Yes.
Also, please, we're begging you to rate and review, just because we really would like to know how we're doing. You're listening to it. Can you just tell us if you think it's good or bad? I mean, just so we know what we could do differently to keep you involved, to keep you like maybe telling others about it and stuff like that. Yeah, so thank you for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
And listening, and that's it, right?
That's it. That's all I had.
Nope, I have a whole paragraph other to read.
Before we sign off, there's this whole other page.
Let me tell you about the Missoula Cafe. No, I'm just playing. I don't.
Cool. All right. Thanks, guys, for listening.
Bye.
Bye.